Nom 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 nom. Boink. Oi.
Hello everyone, my name is Paulina and I'm a knitaholic. In this video I'll show you how to knit this beautiful fluffy Santa hat and give you some instructions how to use a different yarn, different needles and adjust it to your head measurements. So stay tuned and give it a thumbs up to encourage me and support my channel. You know what? I've actually wanted to make Santa hat for a few years, so we're making my dream come true. I hope yours as well. As for the yarn, the most important part, I'm using this Chinese yarn called Mink Wool. Of course it has no mink. Mink Wool or mink yarn. You can look at the label. Has no mink in it, obviously. What I have found out online, as the label doesn't have any information, the yarn is approximately 350 meters in 50 grams and it's about 50% natural fibers and 50% synthetic fibers. So in those natural fibers must be some angora yarn. As we see, it's rather fluffy, and probably a blend with wool. Why am I using it? Because it is fluffy and I want my hat to be really voluminous and luminous, right? And fluffy and festive. But at the same time, it's just for a few days. Yeah, we wear it a few days a year. So I don't want it to buy regular angora yarn, which is rather expensive. So I'm using this mink wool, Chinese mink wool, in color 801, white and red. You see it's not as fluffy, this color. It's 810. Yeah. I know that this yarn is not available everywhere. Here I can buy it easily, but if you cannot find it, you could use some blend of alpaca or mohair or angora with merino. It doesn't need to have merino because otherwise it's not elastic. It won't. When the head, it should be a little bit stretchy because it should, when you take it off, it should return to its original state, more or less. And if it's 100% alpaca, for instance, or more mohair or angora and no merino, well, it shouldn't be very nice, I believe. So choose some blends of angora and merino, or alpaca and merino, or mohair and merino. Just make sure when you work the sample that it's not itchy against your forehead, because we want it to be cozy and not cause any discomfort. For instance, you could use Drops Flora, which is 35% alpaca and 65% merino. I would say that the thread is, just a second, let me take this off. It says that it's 420, right? Yeah, 420 meters in 100 grams, which the label says that it should be finer than the yarn I'm using, but if we see, it's a little bit even thicker. But you know, mink wool is used with additional threads. Actually, each skein goes with this thread, which adds elasticity and more shape, and I'm gonna use them all. Whereas Drops Flora, for instance, doesn't have it. Still, if you hold it double, I'm gonna hold double all the threads. It should be a fair substitute, maybe not as fluffy, but fluffy enough. We see this well against this green background that alpaca gives this fluffiness. I have used the yarn in my headband piece and we see it's relatively fluffy, right? Yeah. What we need to remember is that the yarn should be sticky, so please don't use superwash merino because it will not look as favorable. And you need to control your tension, your gauge with merino very well with superwash yarns. Choose some blend, which is approximately 350 to 420 meters in 50 grams, and hold it double. Or if you can find something which is 350 meters in 100 grams originally, go ahead, you can use it without holding it double. So I guess this is clear. You found the yarn that you like, then you work the sample. It should be big enough for you to measure the gauge, so it should be minimum 10 centimeters across. Well, mine is a little bit larger, of course, so I can check the gauge properly. And it's slightly less than 10 centimeters because I was a little bit lazy, but it's enough. It's more than 8. I could measure 8 centimeters easily, and this is enough for the gauge. While working this sample, by the way, it's washed. You can see what the yarn looks like, the fabric looks like when it's washed. Can you see these fibers? I love this. I love fluffy yarns. I've used 3.5 millimeter Hiya steel needles, US 4 size. And let's talk about the gauge and how to count the number of stitches you need and everything. I've got some notes here. So, I've knitted the swatch, right, the sample, and measured how many stitches I have in 10 centimeters and how many rows I have in 10 centimeters, all for inches. I'm just more accustomed to centimeters, so I believe it's not that hard to convert it into inches if you need. Measured this, washed it, and measured again. You see that the numbers differ. If the numbers differ, we need to take it into account. If they don't differ, you're lucky and you need to do a bit less maths. So I need to divide the number after washing, yeah, by the number before washing, and you see I get 0.95. So if we put it into percent, that means it's 4.5%. And we see we have less stitches. That makes it the stitches get like larger, and then the head itself gets 4.5% wider. And then we divide. Yeah, here I started dividing in the opposite way, right? But we divide the lower number by the upper number this way. And you see it's 1 point and so on in percents. Yeah, if we multiply by 100, we see that it's about 3.7, 3.8% shorter because we have more rows in 10 centimeters, so the rows get a little bit shorter. I'm not gonna just use like these very exact numbers. As for length, okay, I'll just put 4%. 4% less stitches because the head gets 4.5% wider, and 4% more rows. This should be fine if we take it into account. I just decided to how to say, to make it easier, yeah, all the other points of maths. You could use the exact numbers, I don't mind. Then my head circumference is 57.5 centimeters. So you use some tape measure, right? And like this. I have it around. Right? Measure your head, like where the brim of the head should be, right above your ears. You could measure across, including your ears actually. I usually measure a little bit above, so it's 57.5 centimeters. But if we cast on this very number, it will be too loose, because the head should be rather snug. Not too snug for this hat. If you want your hat to be very snug, you can decrease like 20%, but for a beanie hat, I usually decrease from 10 to 15%. So let's make it 15. 57.5 centimeters multiplied by 0.85, so decreasing 15%, we get this number. And remember that we should have 4% less stitches. So we multiplied by 0.96 and get about 47 centimeters. Yeah, that is our circumference of the hat. Actually, I usually go for 46 for like snug effect. It's just my safe number for my head circumference. I just know that I need like 46 centimeters if I want the hat to be very snug. So here it's 47. Yeah, we remember that the hat will get a little bit wider, so it should be all right. 47 we multiply by the number of stitches in 1 centimeter after washing. So it's in 10 centimeters, so it's 2.15. We multiply and get 101 stitches. I just don't like this number because it's not easily divided. Well, actually, you can divide only by 101 and by 1, as we know our maths from school. So I decided to go for 100 stitches because this could be easily divided by 2, 4, 5, 10, 25, 20. So lots of variations, and when we do our decreases closer to the cap, it will be more convenient if the number is even, and 100 looks like a nice number to start with. So we need to cast on 100 stitches. I hope this is quite clear for you. If you use a different yarn, again, you start with your swatch, right? You can see my gauge here, right? If you want to have a fabric which is approximately the same, you can see, well, I would say that it's not the thinnest hat, but not the thickest one. If you need like your hat to be really warm, suitable for -10, -15 degrees Celsius, I'd go probably with 3 threads of Mink Wool and probably minimum 2 threads of this extra thread, yeah, which goes with it. So I hope this part is clear. Sample, yeah, I worked with 2 threads of Mink Wool and 2 extra elastic threads. We need to cast on 100 stitches. I'm gonna use a hook and some scrap yarn. We need a provisional cast on. If you don't have a hook at home, yeah, or don't know how to use it, don't want to bother with it, you could go for Judy's cast on, which works just as fine. It's just, for me, using the hook is way easier. So we start chain of stitches, usual way. I'll just have 3 stitches. Then we take our needle, and the yarn, you see, goes behind the needle, and we keep on working these chain stitches. So again, the yarn goes like this, and so we chain the number of stitches we need for the project. In my case it's 100. Like this. When you're done, you just work a few more stitches and just either pull the end if your end is not very long, or cut it. I just use this thin, reuse it in different projects. So you have this provisional cast on, and then you use your main yarn and work these stitches, joining the round, and so on and so forth. I'm gonna start with my white color. I need to hold it double, but I have only one skein, so I'll use this thread and try to pull the thread from the middle very carefully. If I don't succeed, I just probably wind this into 2 skeins. We'll see. Oops. And the same about the thread. It's either I go with 1, and if I'm not lazy, I'll just use 2, and I need again to wind it into 2 spools, right? So 2 threads of this, minimum 1 thread of this, 100 stitches, and the brim I want it to be about 8 centimeters, and I want it to be trifold to make it as warm as possible. So 8 multiplied by 3 makes 24 centimeters. So I join in the round and start working stockinette stitch. Probably after 8 to 10 centimeters I'll try it on, see if it fits, and if necessary change the number, but it should be alright, I believe. So see you when you're done with the brim, with 24 centimeters of white. By the way, you see that this is angora and it shreds some of these pieces. That's why it's a hat, not a sweater. Okay, see you when you're done with the white brim. I finished the white part and I couldn't resist. I washed it. Can you see how fluffy it is? It's really fluffy. It looks like a little kitten. I washed it. It's even slightly damp now, but that's still okay. I can show you. The length is, let me measure it, about 27 centimeters. I made it slightly longer, actually almost the whole of the white skein went into this white part. Now we need to start the red one. By the way, I bound it off the simplest way. I worked slip, 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 knit, and pulled the next stitch through the previous one. The simplest bind off, and you don't need anything fancy in case you have trifold edge, and this goes inside. No one's gonna see it. Just make sure you do it loosely. There should be some space, so it should be stretchy. If you do it very, very tight, your head will not feel comfortable when you wear it. Let's style it. So it should go inside. Then this part, so like 1, 2, and this is the third one. That's where we started. And you see, this here we see purl stitches, but above we need the knit ones. So we pull it inside out. Here you can see where I had to cut the thread. It got a little bit messy, and a few times. By the way, I was patient enough and I used the elastic thread, 2 of them, so that means I had to wind some more thread on a separate like spool, right? Like here I have 2 red ones separately, white I had only 1, but I wound it in 2. so sometimes I had to cut. Here we go. We need to cast on the wrong side. For that we need to unpick this cotton cast on, provisional cast on. Oops, not here, it was on this part. So you unpick it and slowly pick all the stitches on the needle. I'm using a smaller size needle, it's 2.5 millimeters because it's easier. Then you work the first round in your 3.5 millimeter needle, so whichever needles you picked for your project, and start working in rounds in the red color. I'll work for like 5 centimeters, then try it on and figure out how long I want my tail to be and how often I need to place the decreases. See when you're done the first 5 centimeters of the red. I've started the decreases and here's how I do it. First you divide the hat in 4 sections, in my case it's 100 stitches divided by 4, 25 in each section, 25 stitches, and I started decreasing right here, it's 7.5 centimeters of the red fabric and 15 from the bottom. I decrease every 5th round, so decrease 4 rounds without any decreases and then decrease again. And I alternate decreases at the start of the section and in the middle. Last time I decreased in the middle, so this time I decrease at the start, so these first 2 stitches are gonna be knitted together, so I do simple knit 2 together to decrease and do it every 5th round. How I figured it out, from the point where I started the decreases, I want my hat to be approximately 30 centimeters, 30 something. I counted the number of rounds I'm gonna get in 30 centimeters, and as we decrease we decrease 4 stitches in the round, and I want to have 12 stitches at the end. So 100 minus 12, that's 88, and we decrease 4 in the round, that's 22 decreases. I've decided to spread them evenly every 5th round, so that makes this part 110, 22 by 5, yeah, that's 110 rounds. Better more than less, in this case I don't want my tail to be very short, so it's going to be approximately 30 centimeters from the point where we start decreasing, or a little bit longer. And that's what I'm doing. Decrease at the start of the section, 4 rounds without any decreases, decrease in the middle, and so on, and they do like checkerboard, sort of. And you see, when you use this yarn, fluffy yarn, the decreases are barely visible. I can see them because I know where they should be, otherwise they are almost invisible. See you when we are done decreasing. The greater part of the hat is done. I finished it a little bit sooner. First I decreased until I had 24 stitches on my needles every 5th round, as I said before. Then I decreased 4 stitches and 4 more with 1 or 2 rounds in between them. So finally I had 16 stitches, 24 minus 8. And these 16 stitches I just cut the thread and pulled it twice through the stitches. And the thread is inside the hat now, and I need to weave it in. The hat itself is washed. You can see that it's turned out pretty fluffy. And now I finally just need to weave in the ends. Actually, I've weaved this in before washing. Just a few here at the bottom. Let's measure the hat. It's washed, it's slightly damp, but you know, we knitters are really impatient. The white part is after washing. It's about, well, 27, right, 27 centimeters. And the red one is, just a moment, approximately 37. So 27 plus 37 makes 64 centimeters, the length of the hat with this very long brim. So we do like this and it gets trifled, but first of course it needs to get dry. And now I'm gonna weave in all the ends and attach the pom-pom. This is it, the hat is done. Thank you for watching the video. I hope you find it useful. Don't be shy to ask questions in the comments and subscribe to the channel to support me and to get notified about the new videos. Merry holidays to you and your family. See you in the next video. Bye!